high-tech oils available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts and all leading independent auto stores.
In 2014, Team Honda Racing reigned supreme. Wayne Maxwell returns to defend his Superbike title. But this time, it's on a Yamaha. Kawasaki is back with a 6-bike attack. Past champions are joined by stars of the future. In 2015, the iPhone Superbike Championship is anyone's game. It's a magnificent day here at Sydney Motorsport Park as a brand new season starts on two wheels. The 2015 Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. Matt Nolte's my name. Joining me in commentary, Phil Harlem and Lance Robertson. And boys, the countdown's been on. We've got some new bikes, some new names. Really looking forward to the start of this championship.
Yeah, certainly are, Matt. And Lance, it's going to be a great season, that's for sure. And I think a whole lot of excitement's been added to this year with the introduction of the new Yamaha YZF M1 and also Team Honda. Can they continue their dominance from last year?
Well, of course, you've got not only those bikes, of course, you've got the other manufacturers as well that are coming into the fore. And it's not just going to be a one-horse race this year. I'm really looking forward to 2015 season.
Two big races to come up today, over 15 laps around this track that once hosted the World Championship for 500cc racing, now known as MotoGP. So it's a track these guys all like to race on.
It certainly is, and I think one of the great things that, as Lance said, there's lots of guys that can go really fast around this circuit. It's a circuit that seems to suit all of the motorcycles, and that's really good.
Unfortunately for Jamie Stouffer, he's out this weekend, and Aidan Wagner gets his start. Let's check in and find out about this new up-and-coming star.
It's pretty much like a big 600 for me, which is good. It was easy for me to gel with, and getting off the 600 and onto this, it still feels super fast, but it's really smooth. So it's made the transition a lot easier, you know, just to get on and be able to go quick pretty early on. So huge thanks to the guys at Team Honda Racing for letting me come aboard and have such a great package for my first weekend out.
For a start, extremely disappointed that Jamie can't be riding at Eastern Creek. Aidan is a very talented motorbike rider. I didn't know a whole lot about the kid prior to this weekend. It wasn't until my wife actually did the press release leading into the event, and the kid was at the presentation here at Eastern Creek, and he had his championship shirt on. I thought, oh, this kid's got some credentials, and that was when I realised I think we've picked the right kid, you know. So coming into the event. Don't really know what to expect. Never ridden a superbike. Who knows?
You're only as good as the team around about you, so to come to a team like this, which is, you know, they've got their stuff sorted out, and teammates like Jamie and Herfoss have helped me out a lot over the weekend, you know, just things that is a lot harder to pick up, you know, riding lines and gear changes and things like that on the superbike is a lot different to the 600. I'm still looking to do World Supersport. I sort of want to go to the world stage while I can. While the opportunity's there and while I'm young enough, you know, so we'll just see how we go. But, you know, if anything popped up that I could do, you know, both championships, because obviously World Supersport, I'm not in the points for it now, so it'd just be a learning year for me, but I've got some points here in the first round, so just see what happens.
The glitz and glamour on this Sydney Motorsport Park main straight as the riders getting set to come out for race number 1 of the championship. They're heading down this main straight here of this 3.93 kilometre circuit. Boys, it's an amazing track. We're going to check out the iPhone Oils track preview here right now, and guys, take us through it.
Yeah, as we said before, Matt, it's a great circuit for all of the motorcycles. The Honda, with its great chassis, is really good round the back of the circuit. And Glenn Allerton's awesome new Yamaha YZF-R M1 is really fast down this long start-finish straight. Into turn 1, he rates it as one of his favourite corners. You come into this corner at about 260 kilometres an hour. He only goes down one gear from top in the gearbox coming down the straight. And here we see a textbook example of how you overtake at turn 1. His teammate Wayne Maxwell going down, the other rider in the Yamaha team this year, Crew Halliday, into turn 1. A textbook example of how you overtake at turn 1 of Sydney Motorsport Park.
Another very important part of the circuit is these two, turns 4 and 5, about 160 k's, third gear. You can see there Matty Walters on the Kawasaki. He goes a little bit too wide there, and Allerton's able to go on the outside and then back up the inside of him again through this fifth turn. Very important to get up towards Kawasaki.
Turn 8, possibly one of my favourite corners on the entire Sydney Motorsport Park layout. It's a blind entry into this corner, extremely fast as you drive out of turn 7. You come around through turn 8, you go wide on the exit of that corner and the track really starts to drop away. Then it's hard on the brakes down into turn 9. If you set that up right, a great overtaking position.
So that's how it looks, 3.93 kilometres around this 12-turn track at Sydney Motorsport Park. Time to check out qualifying, and something a bit different this year. We had 2 races on the Saturday. The overall point score, boys, sets the grid for races today.
Yeah, it's a completely new way to qualify this year. Last year it was whoever did the fastest lap in any of the races. This year it puts a whole lot more importance on the Saturday racing, and I think, Lance, you'll agree that the Saturday racing was cutthroat because everybody knew that it was all about grid positions.
It certainly was, and this man here, Troy Herfoss, he's now leading the championship, albeit by 1 point, but he's still the leader of the 2015 Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship.
One of the big stories this year is the new Yamaha R1. The Yamaha racing team has a star lineup for 2015 with Wayne Maxwell, Glenn Allerton and Crew Halliday.
We had a 4x20-minute sessions here a few weeks ago, which was much of a pre-season test, and we knew this weekend was going to be a bit of a challenge to try and get the pace up. It's always hard to develop a bike on race weekends. But out of the box, the first thing the boys said, I can't believe how good this bike is. So from there, we had to then get turned into a race bike, and getting the right bits and make them work the way we want them to work always takes time. So, but it's all looking good.
Certainly is going to be an absolute weapon when they get that developed later this season here, the Yamaha R1, as the bikes are getting set for the start of a brand new championship. 13 Superbikes on track for round 1. The Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship here today at Sydney Motorsport Park, boys. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to this great new year. Of course, the Honda was dominant last year, but Yamaha have brought out this new YZF-R M1. It's a great motorcycle, but Troy Herfoss comes into Sunday's racing with a 1-point lead in the championship and a very narrow victory margin in the final race yesterday to take that overall result over his teammate Aidan Wagner.
Rather uncharacteristically, a couple of Kawasaki's at the back of the pack there. Mike Jones and Matt Walters, unfortunately having difficulty on the Saturday program, sees them at the very rear of the grid. But it's interesting enough to see Yamahas, Hondas and Kawasaki all on the front row.
Yeah, great start there, looked like from the inside of the front row of the grid by Glenn Allerton. But as they come down into turn 1, Crew Halliday's got a fantastic start around the outside of Wayne Maxwell.
No respect for the defending champion, of course, wearing proudly the number 1 plate that he won last year. Here we have the Hondas side by side. The new kid on the block, Aidan Wagner, in second place, following the man who did so well and finished third in the series in 2014, Troy Herfoss.
It was interesting too, Lance, listening to that interview with Aidan Wagner before where he said, it's great to come onto the Superbike and he's trying to not ride it like a 600. You have a look at his style compared to Troy Herfoss. He still rides the thing really much like a 600. Elbow down, lots of corner speed, lots of lean angle. It's going to be a great season to watch him if he can go the whole season on this motorcycle.
Looks like Wagner's already starting to apply the blowtorch to the back of Herfoss. They slide their way down to the modified turn 6 on board with Crew Halliday, who has a little bit of a moment. It's going to drop him a position here.
Yeah, fight back was really hard there from Sean Condon.
Yeah, Condon's trying very, very hard, but also too is the 2 Kawasaki's we mentioned. Look where Mike Jones is already. Here he comes up the inside down into turn number 9, the hairpin in the middle of the circuit, and he's doing a fantastic job to be up so close already.
And also too, when you talk about Sean Condon, he's actually riding this weekend with a finger that looks like his dog's been chewing on it. It's that injured from earlier on in the season where ripped all the skin off, ripped all the tendons off and just had an operation on it. How he actually manages to get a glove on, Lance, I've got no idea.
Well, there's interesting racing towards the back of the pack as they head out of turn number 12, Bell Helmet's corner, and the run down the main straight. Here comes Wagner. He's doing a great job up the inside there now. No respect at all for Troy Herfoss, and he takes up the running down into turn number 1.
Yeah, what you can see there, though, too, sorry, Matt, is exactly how close those Hondas are. They're so close. They're exactly the same motorcycle, well prepared by Paul Free and Team Honda, and it was only the very slight advantage of the slipstream that got Aidan Wagner down there into the lead, but Herfoss is going to come back hard.
Yeah, they're both side by side. There goes Wagner again up the inside of him on the exit of Ipone Turn, up over the top of Blacktown Chrysler Hill and down into DID Chains Corner, and it is still the young new kid on the block. I tell you what, Troy Herfoss will be just as proud of him out in front of him as he would be if he was leading him, I reckon, because he takes a great sense of pride in being able to educate riders, but not for too long. Look at that.
Handy pass at the top here. That's the classic switchback. We've seen this a million times and almost comes off the bike there.
Yeah, that's a replay of them going through Ipone Corner in the last lap, and you can see there that Wagner was very, very loose. If you remember, of course, Phil, his style of riding on the 600 was very much slideways, wasn't it? He backed those 600s into the corners very well. I wonder if he'll be able to get away with it on the Superbikes.
Yeah, well, I think what he's then was he got on the throttle exactly the same as he would have on the Yamaha 600 last year in the Supersport class. Superbikes has got a little bit more power, a little bit more torque, which lit up the back tyre. But speaking of lighting up the back tyre, here comes Crew Halliday, the man from Camden, is certainly on a bit of a charge now. We saw yesterday how fast he was, Lance, in all of those races and in qualifying. Herfoss comes straight back at him. Halliday just has a look over his shoulder and says, "What was that?"
"What did I do to you?" he says. "It's only 3 laps in so far. We've got another 12 to go. Paybacks are a real bitch, remember."
Got great drive off the final turn. He'll settle back to third as we ride aboard with the man that started from pole position, Troy Herfoss, for Team Honda this year, chasing down the new teammate, at least for this weekend, Aidan Wagner, through the back section of Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, on board there with Troy Herfoss, and he just looks so comfortable on the motorcycle. I think one of the things is that too, he's been doing plenty of riding this year, not just on his motorcycle, but also on his push bike. He's actually already won a mountain bike race this year, and as we know, he does that many kilometres on the push bike. Actually does more than what he does in his car.
Well, the man behind him also rides his push bike to work. I think he does something like a round trip of about 80 k's a day, does Crew Halliday on his mountain bike. So he's as fit as a fiddle as well. Sean Condon, he's getting back to his physical best as well after having shoulder and arm problems in seasons gone by. And it's good to see that he's up there in the fore of it all on the Kawasaki.
And that's what's about race fitness. Even though we haven't raced since December, you've got to keep on top of that because you don't want to roll into the first round rusty.
Yeah, you can be the fittest you've ever been, but not actually be bike fit and really start to suffer. And the other thing is that this year, guys, too, that the race distance has actually gone up from the 8 or 9 laps that we had last year up into the 15-lap range. Really gives you an opportunity to put in some tyre strategy. Although, looking at Aidan Wagner's fastest lap of a 1:30.0, I don't think he's putting in too much strategy at the moment. He's just holding the throttle wide open.
Well, the battle behind him for second and third place is holding those two up, and it's allowed him to concentrate, get his head down, his backside up, and do the best that he can on this brand new bike, for him anyway, because he's been used to the Yamaha in the past, the 600. We heard him in his interview earlier, and he's coming into this, I guess, like the proverbial duck to water. He's taken to it.
Absolutely. So Halliday moves ahead now to second. He carried a full head of steam on the main straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park and now slots himself between the two Hondas as they come down to turn 6.
Be interesting to see how the Yamaha's tyres actually start to last towards the end of the race. That was where they started to struggle in the Saturday program yesterday. But as we heard from Kev Marshall, they've only had 1 day of testing, 4 20-minute sessions, a brand new motorcycle. There was 2 similarities between the motorcycle they've got this year and the one they had last year, Lance. It's blue and it's got Yamaha written on the tank.
Well, that's about as close as it gets, isn't it? I mean, those 2 corners that we just had a look at there out of Kawasaki and through Race Tech, it's going to be very important to see what the front end of the bike can do, as well as needing to steer the bike. You've got to get that power down to the ground, and then you've got to set it upright through the right-hander and down Dunlop Straight. They're now exiting Bell Helmet's corner, the double apex left-hander, or almost triple apex left-hander, and down the main straight. We're on board with the Yamaha racing team, Glenn Allerton. And you can see there that his pit crew are very encouraging, aren't they? Just get out there, go, go, go.
Yeah, Chucker giving him the hurry up there for sure as they come round through turn 1. Look at this battle for 4th place now too. Sean Condon, Glenn Allerton and Wayne Maxwell. Well, Glenn Allerton is from a local man from Sydney. This is Sydney Motorsport Park, is one of his favourite venues and also his home track. Sean Condon, he's from Western Sydney as well, loves the track, always goes well here. And Wayne Maxwell, well, he actually was born in Wollongong and grew up and spent his formative years there, so he actually counts this as one of his home rounds as well.
Yeah, he now lives or resides south of the border, but we won't hold that too much against him. He loves the Mexican countryside down south, doesn't he?
The two Yamaha teammates now working lap 5 of this 15-lap race. We've got Allerton, who moves to the Yamaha team this year after a season with BMW. So I guess it's a different application once again, going from one bike to another.
Yeah, but he's not unused to the Yamaha. He has ridden Yamahas in years gone by, and as Phil could attest to, it's certainly a man who knows his motorcycles and can give good feedback to the team.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose the other thing that's probably in his advantage as well, this year's Yamaha has got so many more electronics, exactly what he was used to when he was riding the BMW as well. So he's probably one of the guys that they're really looking to push the development along of the motorcycle, whereas Crew Halliday, he's just out there trying to go as fast as he can.
Well, that Ippon Kawasaki is holding off the two Yamahas at the moment as they head back down the Swann Insurance main straight, and you can see Kev Marshall's even there with the pit board. That's how slim they are this weekend.
Oh, look at that. Allerton just about to be bested there down into turn 1. Well, he did rate it as one of his favourite corners. Maybe now not so much.
Wow, that was a gutsy move. You're approaching speeds of 280 k's before that 5th gear turn 1. So he moves up a position.
Whilst all of that's been happening, Crew Halliday has managed to hold off Troy Herfoss and get right up onto the rear cowling now of Aidan Wagner. Very loose under power as he goes over the top of Blacktown Chrysler Hill, down into DID Chains turn 4, towards Berwick Leathers turn number 5. You can see the way that they've got to wrestle these monsters from one side of the circuit to the other and still maintain that power, because it's all important when they come up to here in Kawasaki.
Looks to me like Troy Herfoss is really just cruising around there in 3rd place, Matt, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually sit there for a couple more laps and try and conserve the tyres a fraction. Let the other two young fellas do all the donkey work while he just sits there and tries to keep calm, and then has a real big shot in those last couple of laps. Of
course, Halliday has a lot of experience in dirt track racing, which we've seen a lot of riders over the years cut their teeth in.
Well, Troy Herfoss as well, as he did very, very well in the Troy Bayliss Classic not that long ago and managed to win the Americana section of that. Unfortunately, he fell off in the main 21-lap race towards the end of it, and that put paid to any dirt track crowns that he might have had in terms of getting doubles up there. But he's certainly very, very race fit. Yeah,
and also Crew Halliday and Troy Herfoss, both experts at the Supermoto version of motorcycle racing, as well as Crew Halliday goes into the lead on lap 7 now, so we're just getting up towards half race distance, and Crew Halliday is really starting to, well, I think what he's showing is that the Yamaha's got plenty of pace. The real question though is over tyre longevity.
It appears that Yamaha's got a lot more speed in a straight line.
It does, and that's very important, but it's only important in 1 or 2 parts of this circuit. The most important thing is to make sure, as Phil just mentioned, the longevity of your tyres.
Sure.
And the Honda has got a great chassis, and this is where the Honda's really strong. So if Crew can keep the Yamaha ahead of the two Hondas around the back end of the circuit, and then use the power of the new YZF-R M1 down the long start finish straight, we might see this start to get a little bit of a lead over the Hondas at the moment. But this is really Honda territory around here.
And while the subject of tyres, we've only got 3 sets of Dunlop control tyres, something that's only happened in the recent past, and I think it's a good thing for the category.
It certainly is. It's well, the Dunlop control tyres last year, Lance, they had to go from temperatures of 80 degree plus track temperature at the last round here, and it went and it was -7 first thing in the morning.
Well, Dunlop have done a fantastic job year in, year out. They've been around in tyres, no pun intended, for a long, long time, and they certainly know their business, and they've developed a good package, and I think this year they've probably got it pretty well right.
So top 3 have checked out in this race, working lap 7 as Halliday looks over the shoulder and enters the Swann Insurance main straight. To reel off this lap, lots of slipstreaming we've seen go in the recent past as Halliday leads us through to this 5th gear, turn 1. Another fastest lap, 1:30.85, this time for a Crew Halliday, your leader.
That's only 0.2 of a second off the lap record set by Aidan Wagner yesterday, so they are really on it at half race distance, and I don't think there's any tyre conservation anywhere in Crew Halliday's mind at the moment, as he's got a very slender lead over Aidan Wagner. But you can see there, Aidan Wagner through turn 2, lots of lean angle, elbow on the ground. He's essentially taken up in Team Honda where Josh Hook left off last year and took off to Japan this year to race in the All Japan Championship.
Yeah, he's not worrying about tyre longevity there. Look at that, up onto the back wheel as he went over the Chrysler Hill and down into turn number 4, the DID Chains turn. Out of turn 5 and up towards Kawasaki, he's certainly trying very hard. He didn't want Crew to be out there in front for too long, and I think you'll find that Troy Herfoss is getting a little bit toey in third place there. I think he'll want to get up in front of that Yamaha rider and try and chase his teammate home.
So goes back to your point about tyres then before, doesn't it? They're trying to preserve him for the final few laps.
The other thing to have a look at too is look at the gap now they've got over the battle between Sean Condon, Wayne Maxwell, Glenn Allerton as well, that 4th, 5th and 6th place. They have got a massive lead now, these three, as they've really started to get away. You look back down along the Dunlop straight there and the others aren't even in the view at the moment of these three leaders.
So it's young Aidan Wagner that leads them on lap 8 of 15 out of Bell Helmet's corner, up over a small rise, gets that all-important drive down the Swann Insurance main straight. Halliday up onto the back wheel, has a cheeky peeky boo underneath his left arm just to see where Troy Herfoss is, and then just pulls that Yamaha out of the slipstream so easily. It's going to be very important that he gets maintains that sort of momentum coming into the last lap if they're that close.
Well, the other thing that's in the Yamaha's favour as well, guys, too, is that it's got that electronics package with the traction control. They haven't even had the opportunity to fine-tune it yet. Oh, Troy Herfoss just said, excuse me, Aidan coming through and coming through at a rate of knots. Herfoss, third in the championship last year, wants to get this year off to a great start. And, of course, the man that was second in the championship last year, Jamie Stouffer, out with injury, as we've said earlier on. So Troy Herfoss really is the number one rider for Team Honda, the dominant team from last year, coming into this first round, and he's just now taken the lead.
Yeah, no, beg your pardons there. Excuse me, Mr. Halliday. I'm coming through, and that's opened up a sniff of an opportunity there for Aidan Wagner. Discretion being the better part of valor, out of Kawasaki, heading around towards Race Tech Corner now. This is a very interesting section of the circuit, Phil, because it's very blind. You're over on an angle that is, I guess, less than likeable, because you need to be able to get that all-important drive down there into turn number 9 as well.
Yeah, and turn 9's a great opportunity to overtake, but it's also sets you up for this Dunlop back straight, which then leads, of course, into the final 3 corners, which comes out onto the start-finish straight. We spoke about the traction control on the Yamaha. The traction control on the Honda is essentially right there in Troy Herfoss's right wrist, and the other thing is that the Honda's excellent chassis allows them to get on the gas so much earlier that they don't lose a lot, considering how much down they are in outright horsepower to the Yamaha.
Look at Herfoss there. He cheekily went over to the inside line down the main straight to try and break that slipstream advantage that the Yamaha would have had, and it's paid off for him. He's managed to maintain that first place.
5 lead changes in the first 9 laps. That's pretty cool for the first race of the year.
Oh,
Halliday has a moment.
Wide. Yeah, he's gone very wide there. A la Rossi, left leg off onto the ground, a few sparks, unbalanced, went a little bit too wide, but still managed to keep it on the black stuff. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think the tyres are probably past their best now as the way they've been pushing them. You can see Wagner there start to also get a little bit squirrely out of turn 3, which is an important one too as you drive over that hill and down into the turn 4 area. But look at Herfoss. Look at him manhandling the motorcycle, the way he's using his body. There you go. That's Aidan, how you slide the bike into the corner. But Herfoss, as we know, is a master at that as well. The big thing is that Herfoss is now trying to break away at the front. We said he was going to let the young fellas do the donkey work. I didn't think he would have gone this early, though, at only 2/3 race distance.
He's got it all ahead of him because, yeah, you're right. There's still another 5 laps or 4 and a bit laps to go on this one. And you can see that Crew Halliday, whilst he's not that far behind, has dropped off the pace a little bit. But I just wonder how much of that is sort of like, let's just play it a bit easy, keep in touch with them. You know, the last couple of laps, I'll get back up onto their cowling and go for it.
The pace has been amazing from the start. High pressure stuff, so he probably needs a couple of laps just to cool down a bit here, doesn't he?
Oh, exactly, and the lap times are all down there in the low 131s or high 130s. So, that's a roundabout record pace for all of these guys. Wagner back into the lead. As we said, he's not going to lie down. We saw that yesterday. He doesn't really care that he's supposed to come out here and maybe take a few points away from the competitors for Troy Herfoss. He's a young man in a hurry. He wants to win. That's what he's been trying to do since the start of his career. And I think last year when he got the opportunity to work with Stu Winton, really brought him on. And that's the reason why we see him now in such great form.
Well, what better way to start a new season on a new bike with a new team, a new Superbike, not just a 600. And if he can take a win in his maiden race, how good a feather in his cap would that be?
Well, he's doing a great job so far. 11 laps into this 15-lap race. He's out in front. Wagner will come back and see the final completion of this race right after this. back to Sydney Motorsport Park and race 1 of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. You haven't missed anything while we've been away in the commercial break. Order is unchanged in the first 3, boys, as we enter the final 3 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting these last couple of laps, and also the battle that's developing back there for 4th, 5th and 6th place as well. But at the moment it is Aidan Wagner and Troy Herfoss lead Crew Halliday down the long Swann Insurance start-finish straight. Look at this battle between Matty Walters on the Kawasaki Connection Rover Coaches ZX10 and Glenn Allerton, 4th place finisher in last year's championship on the brand new Yamaha.
I did notice that Sean Condon there, unfortunately, he's fallen off and got back up onto the circuit, so he was involved in that fracas, if you like, for 4th, 5th and 6th placing. He's dropped back to about 8th now, but the good news is he's A-OK and he's back up on the circuit. And
Matty Walters has actually come from the back of the grid. Remember, Lance, he had a crash, had a clutch problem. It was Mike Jones that had a crash yesterday. The two of them started from the back of the grid as Allerton runs wide. Matt Walters will not need a second invitation. We were speaking before about fitness. Matty Walters has actually been training that hard in the gym, Lance, and he's had to get a brand new set of RST leathers because the other ones were swimming on him.
And in the background there you can see Sean Condon just coming up over the top of the Chrysler Hill there now, so he's well and truly back on the pace. Allerton up the inside of Walters, and that is an area where he was very, very strong in. He loved that part of the circuit. In our preview, our iPhone track map preview earlier on, he mentioned that turns 4 and 5 are very important, and he's just proven that point.
Said to me earlier this year he's got nothing to prove, a 2-time Superbike champion. I still think he's got plenty to prove out there. He's racing really hard at the moment.
Well, man, it's also got a fair bit to prove. He's now closing in from behind. Sean Condon, you see how sideways he was on the exit of turn 8. As we said, if we get a shot of him in the pits and that without his gloves on, see if you can see his right hand has got some extremely bad damage on it. I don't know how he's actually out there managing to ride, but then again, it's no surprise to see Sean Condon injured and putting in great performances on board that Bike Biz Kawasaki.
Yeah, unfortunately it's not the first time it's happened to him, and it probably won't be the last.
Troy Herfoss
up the inside at the end of the straight between turns 1 and 2 down into Iphone corner. There's no love lost between these two, is there?
Blasted 20 metres.
What was it Troy Herfoss actually said to you yesterday, Lance, when we were doing the interviews after one of the races, is maybe I was a little bit too nice to him?
That's
Wouldn't
exactly
have thought he
right.
would have been doing it again today.
Well, there you go. He said maybe I was a little bit too nice to him, so he's certainly proving the point in no uncertain terms. Wagner coming back up the inside again. No, beg your pardons. Thank you very much. I'll take first as I head down into Kawasaki for another lap.
So the current Australasian Supersport champion really hammering it up to teammate Troy Herfoss this weekend, almost running the clinic between the rest of the field.
It is, but the other thing is though too that the Honda is probably the best motorcycle for someone to step up to the Superbike class on that is used to riding a Supersport bike. It's the most Supersport-like bike out there. In fact, Lyndon McGee, who's a little bit further back in the field at the moment, running around in 9th position, actually said that he's got to go back to his Supersport riding days after stepping off the BMW from last year and onto a satellite Honda for this year.
Final lap and final turn. It's going to be a Team Honda Racing 1-2 here in race 1 of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. And what a debut for this young guy. The current Australasian Supersport champion, Aidan Wagner, is just going to hold back his teammate Troy Herfoss in a Team Honda 1-2. In the end, boys, Crew Halliday drop back to 3rd. Here's that battle for minor positions coming through.
Oh, Matty Walters and Sean Condon. It's going to be a Kawasaki race to the line as well. We said the Team Hondas were pretty even. These two Kawasaki's also extremely even motorcycles, but Condon may have the advantage of the slipstream.
Trying very hard to outdo his Kawasaki rival there as he comes across the line. 0.003 of a second. That's 3/1000ths of the difference between the two of them. Lyndon McGee gets across in 9th. Bo Beaton brings the Ducati Panigale across the line. And joyous times there for young Aidan Wagner. Takes his maiden victory in his maiden race in a Superbike. What a fantastic effort for the young kid.
Yeah, he's kept the seat more than warm, hasn't he, for Jamie Stouffer? He collects his first win. A Team Honda 1-2. Crew Halliday finishes in 3rd. Back to Maxwell. Jones, Allerton, Condon, Walters and McGee over the page to Hendry and Evan Biles on the SA Kawasaki entry. But well done to Aidan Wagner. He's your winner.
It's a big thing, and to go straight to a great team that's got their stuff working really well already is, that's a huge thing, and I think it shows you're only as good as a team round about you. So hats off to them, and hats off to Crew and Troy. Rode a tough race, and Troy really put the pressure on in the last lap, but I was just able to hang on. But well done to them guys too.
We were 1, 2, 3 for a reason last year, and the bike's great. And it doesn't seem to matter what the other guys are bringing. Our bike's good, so we don't have to worry about that from now on.
It's good to get Yamaha and the new R1M its first podium. We definitely definitely can run the pace. We just need to find a bit more of a setup. We haven't had much time. We just got a fair bit of development still, as everyone knows. The team definitely knows what they're doing. The first race of this bike was yesterday, and we already put on the podium in 3 races. So, definitely the bike is a championship-winning bike, but we just need to develop a bit more and see where we go from there.
Jim Kawasaki team fielding 2 bikes this year. This is one of them, Ben Henry, and of course Mike Jones, who started from the back of the field in race number 1 today to finish inside the top 5 as they're on track now. And big changes, boys. Of course, the track temperature has roared right up to 47 degrees, the air temperature 27, and the iPhone Superbike's heading to the starting grid for what should be an absolute dinger for the last race.
Yeah, Crew Halliday coming down now. Fair bit to prove. He had some great performances in qualifying yesterday, although I've got to say that his performance in race 1 was a big improvement over what the Yamaha team were able to do yesterday.
Well, the starting grid is the same for both races. Troy Herfoss, Aidan Wagner, Sean Condon, Wayne Maxwell. They'll share the front row of the grid. The rest of you can see there. Unfortunately for Matt Walters and Mike Jones, no matter how well they went in race number 1, they still have to start at the back of the grid in race number 2.
So set for a start here, another 15 laps around Sydney Motorsport Park. Who's going to win the drag race to turn 1? And we're away in race 2 of the championship for this year.
A much better start that time for Wayne Maxwell on the inside there. In race number 1, he seemed to bog down a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see if he's made enough changes on that Yamaha to be a force to be reckoned with at the front of the pack.
Yeah, look like Matty Walters also got a pretty good start off that third row of the grid as well. He's moved up a few different positions and right onto the back of Crew Halliday actually as they come round through the second corner there. There's Matt Walters and Bo Beaton on screen. Bo Beaton's been a very busy man this weekend, riding the Irving Vincent in the Pro Twins class as well. He's done a lot of laps this weekend.
Walters has made up 5 positions in 2 turns.
There's a fair amount of determination underneath those leathers and helmet there of Matt Waters, because he won the initial round, the opening round of the Australasian Superbike Championship about 18 months ago, and he hasn't really performed all that well in 2014, and he's certainly got a point to prove in 2015.
They've actually found the secret this weekend why he couldn't get comfortable on the motorcycle last year, Lance, and that's why his performances this weekend, he's been able to maintain a lot better lap speed. The only thing that's worrying him now is that in the first race towards the end there, he started to get a little bit of arm pump in the forearms, and he's actually been having a bit of a massage, hoping that it doesn't come back in this race too.
Sean Condon up there in third place, doing a great job on that Kawasaki. The iPhone Kawasaki is part and parcel of the iPhone Superbike Championship. It's all encompassing with the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship for 2015. Down the Swann Insurance main straight they go, and it is still Herfoss ahead of Wagner at this stage.
Not for long. They come into the finish line. Is Wagner going to make the pass on the outside here? He's done it into turn 1. That high-speed entry point, 5th gear, 260 k's an hour, and Wagner will take the lead.
And look at Maxwell up there into... No, it's actually Allerton. I thought it was Maxwell. It is Glenn Allerton up into 4th place there on the Yamaha, doing a fantastic job to hold off his teammate there with all of that bright yellow livery. It could be nobody else except Crew Halliday.
That's it, but also Allerton's got a fair bit to prove this weekend, because he said by his own admission struggled a little bit as we look at a slow motion replay now of the start, but you can see Maxwell on the inside used all of the electronic advantage that they've got working on that Yamaha to really launch the bike off the line. Of course, the last Yamaha had great bottom end grunt. It looks like this one is certainly no stranger in that department as well.
It was a great launch.
It was a fantastic launch to get out there, but of course the Honda managed to maintain that all-important speed down into turn number 1, and there you saw Walters go around the outside of him.
This is a replay of the overtake on the main straight for the lead into turn 1. So the current Supersport champion of this country takes the lead. And can he hold on to it? As we're on lap 2. There's now Allerton.
Well, that's a typical Glenn Allerton, guys, as Sean Condon essentially gets nerfed wide there. He's lost 3 positions in the space of about 5 metres as, both of the Yamahas of Allerton and Crew Halliday go up the inside there. But that's a typical Glenn Allerton manoeuvre. He doesn't mind getting the bike sideways, gets it deep late into the corner, and I can't wait to watch him at the next round at Malala because that's just got Glenn Allerton late braking written all over it.
Nerfed, what a comment, I like it.
Oh, he was pretty sharp in there on JT Sprocket's corner as well. There was a lot of jabbering that was going on, and there's certainly no problems at all with Wagner's time. A 1:31.211 on the second lap, the fastest lap recorded so far.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can get down to those 1 minute 30 laps that they were doing actually in race 1 and in a couple of the races yesterday. Of course, Wagner set a new lap record in one of the races yesterday. That lap record still stands. They weren't able to get past it in the first race today. But at the moment, it looks to me like he's got a little bit of a gap.
Well, track temperature has increased, as Matt made mention of earlier on, and it's going to be difficult. These tyres are a little bit worn and worse for wear, of course. They've already got 15 laps underneath them, and with the track temperatures being the way that they are at the moment, it'll be interesting to see if they can get those times down.
So Walters has dropped back a couple of positions here. He's down to 8th as they work lap number 3 of this race. We head down to what used to be known as Corporate Hill and the run down to the hairpin. You know, this category is really, really awesome in fast speed, but let's break it down and check it out in slow-mo. Some amazing shots here. Aidan Wagner continues to lead aboard the Honda here as we welcome you back to the iPhone Superbikes here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The 2 Hondas out in front here and a much high pressure race than what we saw in race 1, boys, if I can say that.
On board now with Maxwell down the start-finish straight. He's got the advantage, sort of the double slipstream there as Halliday goes up the inside of Allerton. So Halliday down into turn 1, takes the lead in that group that's battling now for 3rd place. And Maxwell trying to tuck in from behind, but Condon and Mad Mike Jones also coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah, Sean Condon doing a great job on the Bike Biz iPhone Swann Insurance Racing Kawasaki, and he's dragging along behind him Mike Jones as well. He's doing a great job on the Cube Racing Kawasaki.
Yeah, he is doing a great job, but I think Matty Walters might be suffering from a little bit of that arm pump. Look how much he's dropped back behind Mad Mike Jones. We're only at 1/3 race distance. Let's hope that's not the case and Matt can start to move his way forward.
Wayne Maxwell we're on board with right now, 5th position aboard the Yamaha defending champion in Australasian Superbikes. This year presented by iPhone Oils to work lap 5, so 1/3 race distance. Maxwell tied right in there with Sean Condon.
Our race leader Aidan Wagner doing it quite comfortably there as he heads into Race Tech Corner down into JT Sprocket's the hairpin, turn number 9. He's quite comfortably in front of his teammate there, Herfoss, but the real battle is this 5-way battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th.
As they make their way out along to the Dunlop Straight now, a bit more of this slow motion action. You can see how much the motorcycles move. You can also see how physically demanding it is for these guys to actually manhandle these motorcycles. The gyroscopic effect of the wheels want to make them stand up, but they've got to hurl them over into the corner, and you can see the way that they get the knee down. It's a good gauge as to how far the bike's leant over. Also a lot of different riding styles on display there.
Look at the snaky train as they come down. They're weaving from one side to the other. All of these Yamahas as Allerton is defending the Maxwell move on the inside. Maxwell was unable to do that. That's allowed Condon to get right up onto his rear wheel as Troy Herfoss posts the fastest lap of a 1:31.122. Still a fair way away from those 1:30s we saw yesterday.
Track conditions, of course, the temperature being right up is causing the C131s as they work their way around the backside of this circuit. Lap 6 of 15, this 3.93 kilometre Sydney Motorsport Park circuit. Allerton, a guy that raced last year at Le Mans aboard a BMW in the 24-hour race there.
Yeah, he's used to doing plenty of laps, is Glenn Allerton. But Wayne Maxwell also did a fair amount of endurance racing last year on a Yamaha, and that's one of the reasons why I think he was so keen to go to Yamaha this year, was not only the fact that this brand new M1 YZF-R1 that they've got, but also the fact that he's hoping to do some more endurance for the Yamaha team in the season for 2000.
A picture of concentration as Crew Halliday as he goes down the inside. No, it's not. He's in front there. That was actually Allerton and Maxwell. Maxwell getting up the inside of him to take up the running of fourth placing, doing a great job. A battle royale for the Yamahas.
Meantime, the two Hondas continue to lead this one on lap 6 of 15. They run it like a clinic in race 1. It looks like it's going to be a case of the same thing here in race 2.
I was just looking at Troy Herfoss there. Once again, he looks more than happy to let Aidan Wagner do the work out front, sitting right in his slipstream. He closes up behind him. We saw he just set the fastest lap of the race on lap 5. We're on lap 7 now, getting up towards half race distance. I wonder if he's going to hold on a little bit longer than the 10th lap where he made his move in the first race to make his move for the second one. Maybe he let Aidan Wagner know what his few little tricks were.
Well, as they head out of Iphone and through the right hand of it leads up over the top, we've got a replay here of Maxwell getting up the inside there of his teammate down into JT Sprocket's turn. That is turn 9 as they head now down the back straight, Dunlop straight. He managed to walk away with it. But this battle at the front of the pack, it's certainly going to go right down to the wire. And they're not tripping each other up either, boys. The times are still pretty consistent, and the gap that they've maintained over the Yamaha battle for third place has certainly been consistent.
Do you think Herfoss is just playing with him here right now?
I think so. I think he's just sort of sussing him out a little bit, and it wouldn't at all surprise me if in the latter stages Troy starts to assert his authority. I guess a little bit more experience on the Superbike than what Aidan Wagner's got, but how can you argue against the youngster? First time out last race, and he takes his maiden victory.
Exactly. End of lap 7, they're really on by, aren't they?
Every lap of Troy Herfoss's since the second lap has been in the 31s, the low 31s, most of them. So talk about a picture of consistency. Wagner's starting to look like he's starting to really have to manhandle the motorcycle, looking a little bit ragged. Speaking of ragged, look at Wayne Maxwell now closing into the back of Crew Halliday. Makes the pass down. Perfect slipstreaming technique there down into turn 1.
Well, it is a very important part of the circuit because you've now got to maintain that speed as you head down the short straight leading into Iphone. A very important part of the circuit also, because if you don't get the drive up the rise out of this left-hander, it balks you through that right-hander that our race leaders have gone through and up over the Chrysler Hill.
So Maxwell's starting to find his feet aboard the Yamaha here after some serious consideration at the end of last season. He jumped aboard. Let's check out the replay one more time. Carrying a lot of speed down this main straight. And just got the job done before they hit the apex of turn 1. And Wayne Maxwell now up into a podium position.
Well, he was way off the apex there, actually, and I think he did that on purpose to be able to balk Halliday, because it pushed him out into the looser stuff, the dirtier part of the circuit, which meant that Halliday then couldn't screw that throttle open and maintain as much speed down into Iphone.
It's a gutsy pass, wasn't it?
It is, and a lot of people might actually be thinking, they're only back there fighting for third and fourth position. But both Wayne Maxwell and Glenn Allerton have actually made the point as Herfoss goes up the inside. They've actually made the point that they've really exceeded their expectations, considering they've come into this round with 1 day of testing, 4 20-minute sessions against the Honda team that were completely dominant last year. They're completely dominant in this race, but the way they're going, well, will they both finish the race, with Troy Herfoss having to put a pretty desperate move on there to try and get up the inside of his teammate.
I guess a real interesting point to take note of as well is that the Hondas have not really changed that much over this off-season. The Yamahas, they're a lighter frame, they've got different types of engines in them. There's not much the same on the Yamaha. And one thing that I have noticed, especially in our super slow-mo stuff, is the flex in the frame on the Yamaha compared to what it was like last year.
Well, the strong point of the Honda has always been the chassis, but it's interesting talking to Troy Herfoss. He said the 2015 Honda is no different specification-wise. All that's happened is that the team has made the bike easier to ride, if that was at all possible.
Oh, how close do you want to come? Up into Kawasaki there. This is a battle back in the pack a little bit, but certainly there's no lack of enthusiasm from either riders.
Now that's Lyndon McGee ahead, riding a satellite Honda this weekend. Jumped off the BMW, the self-funded BMW last year, and on board the satellite Honda. A little bit of help from Paul Free and the team, but look at this battle of the Yamahas, and look who's closing in very quickly from behind as well.
There's 2 Kawasaki's, lean, mean and green machines right on the back of those blues in front of them, and they're ridden by, of course, Sean Condon. Here we go, Aidan Wagner around the outside, no place for the faint-hearted. Goodness gracious me.
This is amazing. 4th lead change and a wiggle coming out of that turn, and just straightens it up nicely for turn 2. So Wagner retakes the lead on lap 13. Just 2 remaining at the end of this.
What I want to know is how did both of them get anywhere near the apex, the speed that they ran into that corner in? That shows you how good the Honda is in corner entry, and that's really one of the great points about the Honda is the chassis. They've got it so well dialed. I know Paul and the team are working extremely hard, and I bet you Jamie Stouffer sitting in the grandstand watching can't wait to get back out there at round 2.
Well, as they head up towards Kawasaki now, out of Berwick Leather's turn, up into turn number 6. Of course, from years gone by, this used to be a dip to the right, then to the left. It's now a 90-degree bend to the left, and they can get much better speed now coming into Race Tech corner here. Lap 13 of 15. There's not that much more time for Troy Herfoss to do it.
Well, and he's going to have to do something pretty desperate because you can see how fast Aiden's getting into the corners. He's not an easy man to overtake, as we saw in all of the races yesterday, as well as turn 1. Speaking of overtaking, was that Maxwell going down the inside of Crew Halliday. Mad Mike Jones runs wide. Oh, that'll make him furious.
Allerton there out of the saddle gets into that bumpy part of the JT Sprocket's turn number 9, and under power he almost launched himself sideways.
So the cork has popped out the champagne bottle further back in the field as the 2 Hondas come through at the end of lap number 14.
Down into turn number 1 they go, 260 kilometres an hour, 5th gear. Driving hard. Look at the wobble on the bike there in front. Herfoss up the inside. One of the latest, greatest breakers. Not for long though. Wagner back up the inside of him again. Anything you can do, I can do just as well, he says.
Brilliant racing at the front. So Herfoss drops back to 2nd, but still plenty of time. 1.5 laps remaining. So he dropped down the hill over the top of the tunnel that goes underneath the track here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And the run behind this complex of turns here. Turns 5, 6 and 7. Herfoss not out of this.
Well, it doesn't look like whoever is in front of the 2 Team Honda bikes can actually make a break. The big question is, will it be the advantage to lead out onto the straight at the completion of that final lap on the run down the Swann Insurance Straight to the checkered flag? Maybe it might be better to be sitting in 2nd place and get advantage of the slipstream, as we've seen the Yamaha riders do on several occasions.
We've got a replay here of this great braking manoeuvre, but unfortunately he just ran it in a little bit too deep into Ipone, and that allowed Wagner to hug the inside line. Here they come out of JT Sprocket's turn, down Dunlop Straight for the 2nd last time. This is lap 14 of 15, into the Triple Apex left-hander, and that is 11 and 12, Bell Helmet's corner. Here comes this freight train of Yamahas, followed by a couple of Kawasaki's, battling it out for the all-important final podium position.
Yeah, Maxwell leading this freight train of bikes as they come around to start their final lap of race 2 of the Ipone Superbikes here today at Sydney Motorsport Park. And Maxwell in the podium position. His teammate Crew Halliday got anything for him on the final lap?
Well, the big question is, can Mad Mike Jones get past Sean Condon on the Bike Biz Kawasaki as well? It's been a great debut for Mad Mike Jones on the Cube Racing Machine this weekend. That's a replay of the last lap, but this time I think Troy Herfoss has just managed to hold Wagner off. And as they come round through turn 3 for the final time, it is going to be, well, all to play for in the next to come. They come around to turn 9.
There was nothing kind about that one, was there? Straight up the inside, no beg your pardons, and he's got a couple of bike links over him at the moment as they head out of turn number 4, DID Chains, up towards Berwick Leathers. The run up to Kawasaki, it looks like Herfoss is maintaining that gap at the moment, but this is the section of the circuit where Aidan Wagner becomes very, very strong. If he gets, if he gets good drive out of Kawasaki and up into Race Tech corner, but he managed to not do that, and he's still a couple of bike links behind him at the moment.
So just 1 or 2 opportunities. This is one of them now for him to make the pass, or he's going to have to settle for 2nd here on this, the final lap. Herfoss leads, only about a bike length back now to Wagner. Then it's light years back to 3rd position.
Be very important to get drive out of here and down the main straight. Look at Wagner, he's trying to line himself up. In the meantime, Herfoss is trying to hold off the challenges of the youngster behind him.
Yeah, Aidan Wagner got great drive out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Look at Troy Herfoss move his backslide up onto the ducktail to try and get every aerodynamic advantage he can. I think it's just enough. He's going to take victory by 0.056 of a second, and Maxwell will get out the final position on the podium over his teammate Crew Halliday.
Mike Jones makes a mad dive up the inside of Condon, but was unable to do it. Condon beat him only by the narrowest of margins.
It was 1,000th of a second at the line. Can you believe that? But what about these two guys? They've been a class act all weekend. The 2 Honda teammates go back-to-back in race 1 and 2 of the championship, boys.
Herfoss, Wagner, Maxwell doing a fantastic job. That should give the win to Herfoss overall on the day. He's got a 1st, a 2nd, and that all-important 1 point that could go right down to the wire at the end of the season for qualifying.
man, hats off to Swann and Paul Free, the crew chiefs for Aiden and I, have worked together really well, and it shows. Our bikes are very similar and very, very competitive. Unbelievable. The bikes are even better than last year. It's so good. And hats off to Aiden in that race. He rode a strong race, and he didn't really have a look around, but I noticed early that we had quite a big gap, and I also knew that these big long limbs don't push wind that well, and so I had to wait, and I was so patient. I knew he missed a gear, and I didn't want to lead, but he missed a gear, and then luckily for me he was eager to get to the front again, and so I just had to wait and really bite my time. It was sort of like riding, like it was like just a waiting game the whole time. We were so close, and he was setting a really good pace, so full credit to the team.
It's been a great weekend aboard the CBR, so the old man outsmarted me there, you know, towards the end, let me do the donkey work and put the hard laps in at the end, but no, well done to him and well done to everyone else, and couldn't have done it without Team Honda Racing putting together such a great package and a great bike, so looking forward to whatever the future may bring, and well done to everyone else.
Yeah, Lance, I'm really, really happy. The new Yamaha M1, you know, the new Yamaha R1M worked awesome, you know. Yamaha Motor Finance Insurance, you know, everyone, all the supporters. The guys have been working super hard, and I think people underestimate how much we've been on the back foot and how underprepared that we are. It just shows, you know, how good the team is around me. My mechanic Warren's not here with me today. He's in hospital. He's got something wrong with him, so he left this morning. So, but the rest of the team took up the slack, and full credit to them. You know, so we'll just have to wait and see, and a bit of testing, and we definitely need it, and it's still a solid result first out.
And there are the points after the first round of the iPhone Superbikes this year. Just a 1 point lead from Herfoss back to Wagner, then Maxwell and Halliday tied for third and fourth, back to Allerton, Jones, Condon and McGee. Well, boys, one round down. We've got plenty of racing still to come. Your thoughts on today's event?
Well, I think it's a very good start for the Honda Racing team, especially for young Aiden Wagner. They were very strong at Malala last year. Let's see if they can back it up in 2015.
Also, an excellent start for Yamaha, considering the limited testing that they had. For Maxwell and crew Halliday to be tied in third place in the championship, really only 10 points off the championship leading into the second round. I'd say look out at Malala.
And that's where we head for the second round of the championship here. The iPhone Superbikes heading to Malala in South Australia for the second round of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. For Lance Robertson and Phil Harlem, I'm Matt Nolte. We'll see you soon.